What up, everybody? It is your boy, Matthew Maley, for MatthewMaley.com. Well, 2011 wild card weekend of the NFL has officially come to an end, and damn, it lived up to its name. It was quite wild, I must say. So I want to do a quick wrap-up of the 4 games, as well as do a preview of next week's divisional games, and get everybody ready for that, go over the lines and my picks, and see how everybody else did. So first off, we'll start with the Saturday games. The first game up was the Bengals versus the Texans, and it actually wasn't as close of a game as I was thinking. The original line on it was 4 points, and I said that was a game that I was scared to touch because I really thought it was going to be more like a 3-point game, especially since the last one ended as a 1-point game. The Texans won by 1, so I was a little scared of that line and was definitely staying away from it. Did not bet it at all. But ended up, I did pick the Texans to win, and they ended up winning 31-10. Really just looked pretty much dominant from the beginning. After the first quarter, it was just all Texans. Want to give a shout out to J.J. Watt, I believe is his name, rookie lineman, defensive line player, and just was a beast. I believe he's either an end or a tackle. I think he's an end, but dude was able to intercept one of Andy Dalton's passes. And I mean, this wasn't just like some ball that he tipped into the air and ran back. He caught it like a receiver from 5 feet out of Andy Dalton's hands. And it was a rocket coming out. Dude intercepted it like straight in the mitts and ran that joint back for a touchdown. So shout out to him. Then got a sack to end the half. So was killing it. Shout out to dude. Arian Foster ended up with 2 touchdowns and 153 yards. Andre Johnson got 5 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. And TJ Yates, shout out to dude. He ended up 11 for 20, 159 yards and a TD. So even though Dalton ended up throwing for 257 yards and had a decent game, they really just couldn't get anything going on the ground, and that was all she wrote. So for one, I think it was one of like 4 teams ever, their first ever playoff game to win it. That's what the Texans were able to do, and actually the last team to do it was the Baltimore Ravens, who went on to win the Super Bowl. So maybe it's an omen there. So great game from the Texans and a great win. Going on to the next game was the night game, and was the Saints versus the Lions. Now, I know I said I didn't want to touch the line on this because it was an 11-point line, and that scared me. Nor did I want to touch the over-under because that was set into 69, and that scared me because I didn't think either one of them were going to get hit, and wow, was I wrong. Just very wrong. First off, the final score was 45-28, so definitely hit the over. And I mean, it wasn't by a whole lot, but still, it hit the over. The largest over in history, and it still hit it. Like I said, the spread was 11 points, and again, the score was 45-28, so definitely more than 11 points. So it really was just a blowout the second half. It was weird that the first half the Lions looked really good. Ended up at halftime, it was 14-10. They were looking solid and I mean, defensively were pretty good. They weren't giving up too many big plays, at least through the air. The ground, I gotta say, that was a big issue from the jump. The Lions were giving up some big holes on the ground. But then when the second half came around, oh my God, the holes that were so huge, I mean, they were like 10 yards across for these holes for these running backs to run through. And it wasn't like it was just one. It was Sproles. It was Ivory. Everybody. It was Pierre Thomas. All 3 of them were killing it. So when you add that with a player as amazing as Drew Brees, and he was just pinpoint accurately on, ended up with 466 yards and 3 TDs. Ended up throwing 33 of 43 for 466. But, I mean, honestly, it's not even, I think more important than that was the fact that the Lions had 2 turnovers that they could not capitalize on, and just seemed like they could never get going totally. In the first half, it seemed like, more like they were just really lucky to be up. period. And I don't know, it sucked. Like, I still just didn't feel like they were ever fully firing on all cylinders, if you will. Stafford ended up having a pretty good game. He went 28 for 43, 280 yards. I'm sorry, 380 yards and 3 TDs. Could not get any rushing game going at all. Kevin Smith only rushed 6 times for 21 yards. And my boy Megatron ended up with 12 receptions for 211 yards and 2 TDs. So great game for Megatron, but the second half, they just could not get anything going. Plus, their defense was on the field a lot, so their defense started getting gassed, so they started letting out bigger plays. I mean, there was a pass play to Jimmy Graham where nobody was within 10 yards of him. To quite possibly the best, if not the second best, at absolute worst, tight end this season behind Gronkowski, and you have nobody around him on the goal line? Come on, son. So, at the end of the day, still, a great season for the Lions. I really think that next year, I think the Packers are going to cool off a little bit, and I think the Lions are going to give them some challenge at the top of the division. I think the Lions just need to start working on getting those penalties squashed and just playing more cohesively and not letting these big game-changing plays happen. So, we'll see what happens next year, but I think the Lions are going to have a good base at least, and New Orleans is looking like a very well-oiled offensive machine. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the rest of them for the rest of the playoffs. On to Sunday's games, which just ended not that long ago with some craziness. Well, a while ago, but I didn't get a chance to watch it, so I've been getting all caught up on the highlights. But started off with I did badly. Let's put it that way. I did badly on Sunday. I picked both games Saturday, right? Though granted, I stayed away from the spread. I didn't bet either one of them because they both scared me. I didn't bet either one of these games, but I was planning to. First game was the Falcons versus the Giants. And the Giants had a 3-point spread as the favorite. And I actually thought Atlanta was going to win, period. So I wasn't even worried about that. I picked them to win. And wow. That's all I can say. All that I said about Matt Ryan's going to get his first win. They're going to come in there and make up for last year, getting destroyed by Green Bay at home. Nope, not at all. Their grand total was 2 points. The Falcons scored 2 points. It was pathetic. I mean, the Giants looked good, don't get me wrong. Their defensive line was attacking, and Eli Manning actually looked very good. He managed the game perfectly. His QBR, which is the new quarterback rating that that ESPN kind of put out, was 78, which the average is 50. The best you can get is 100. So it's a pretty solid game. He ended up having, let me see here, he ended up with 277 yards on 23 of 32 passing with 3 touchdowns, 2 of which went to Hakeem Nicks, who had 6 catches for 115 yards. And Brandon Jacobs only had to rush 14 times, but got 92 yards with it. I'm not sure what Bradshaw had, but he had a pretty good game as well, I think. But I mean, when you look at the line for the Falcons, Matt Ryan, 24-41, 199 yards. The burner, Mr. Michael Turner, 15 carries for 41 yards. And my boy Julio Jones, 7 receptions for 64 yards. Like, they just couldn't get anything going. And I know the Giants have a good defense, but I really just felt, more than anything from what I've seen, that the Falcons just didn't show up. And especially 2 big points in the game were 2 different times, 4th and inches. Coach Smith, the Falcons coach, went for it both times with the quarterback sneak for Matt Ryan, and both times didn't get there. So that was a huge momentum changing. Even though, it was only a 24 to well, at that point, it was only 17-2. So it was still possible. And they just couldn't get anything going. So Falcons just looked horrible. They really need to get something figured out. And I think Coach Smith is a good coach. I think Matt Ryan's a good, their franchise quarterback. You got the burner. You've got 2 great receivers. But, I mean, what's it going to take? Maybe they need to shore up the defense a little bit. I mean, they've over the past few years had a pretty good defense, but they were getting gashed pretty hard. So there were multiple third and longs that, you know, the Falcons defense did well in the first two plays of the downs, first two downs. I mean, so, you know, and a couple of them were like 3rd and 13, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8. So some of them, they were even stopping them for a loss, and then just giving up these huge plays for 19 yards, for 17 yards, for 25 yards, and a lot of them weren't passes. They were screen passes, or they were running back draws. Like, it was crazy. It was really surprising to see. So Giants move on. Falcons sent home. Go watch the rest of them, and very curious to see what's going to happen with the Falcons next season. And that brought us to the surprise of the weekend, the real wild game of the wild card weekend, that of the Broncos and the Steelers. Now, as we said, this was a 9-point favorite for the Steelers, which I said I thought was way too high. I was not coming close to that line at all. But I would have bet my life, my house, my balls, anything on the fact that the Steelers were going to win this game. I definitely thought it was going to be a lot closer because of Big Ben's health, because of not having Pouncey, because of not having Ryan Clark, who I think is a big player, even though, you know, everybody talks about how awesome Polamalu is, or other than this game, Ike Taylor. I think Ryan Clark is the glue for that defense, personally. So I definitely thought it was going to be a closer game, but I still thought there was no chance in hell that the Steelers would lose. I had it, like I think I said, I was thinking like 27-24 or 20-17, something like that. But I definitely thought it was going to be a lot closer than a 9-point spread. But Mr. Tebow, he did it. He had his best game of his career, threw for 316 yards, only on 10 of 21 passing. So still only, just under 50% passing. But when you figure he was averaging 30 yards a throw, that's pretty impressive. Also had 2 touchdowns, and I believe he ran for one as well. Yeah, he did. Plus his boy Thomas, that's his dude, man. I gotta say, that guy has really made Tim Tebow look good. Ended up catching 4 balls for 204 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown that ended the game. And actually, the Broncos looked good from the jump. They came out to at halftime was a 20-6 lead. The Steelers scored twice, 2 field goals in the first quarter to take a 6-0 lead after the first quarter. But then that second quarter was all Broncos, and it ended up at halftime 20-6. The Steelers then came back and actually were able to tie it up. So it was tied going into overtime. So it was the first opportunity for the new overtime rules, which everybody was excited about. And the very first play of overtime, when everybody expected it was going to be a little handoff to Willis McGahee, ended up being a touchdown, an 80-yard touchdown play to Thomas, and great just slant pattern. And after a nice stiff arm to Ike Taylor's face, it was all she wrote. So I do got to say, man, Ike Taylor, feel bad for you, man. That was a horrible game from you. You know it. You already apologized on Twitter. But, I mean, just getting abused. Thomas, all 4 of his catches were against him. Plus, there was a pass interference penalty. Just a really bad game. Ben Roethlisberger was looking hobbled. Still had an alright game, 289 yards, 22 of 40 for a touchdown. Redmond actually had a pretty good game, filling in for the now injured Mendenhall, Rashad Mendenhall, sorry, I couldn't remember his name. Ended up going for 121 yards on 17 carries. But at the end of the day, Broncos just had something on their side. I'm sure Terrell Suggs is having some kind words. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the rematch now that the Broncos are going to be going into New England for a rematch of the game that actually ended their 6-game win streak. Plus, the New England Patriots just signed Josh McDaniels, who was Tim Tebow's coach for the first year, almost all the first year, and who was so high on Tebow that they wanted to draft him. So it's going to be very interesting to see. So overall, some crazy games. definitely was not what I was expecting, but some crazy games, and really was a wild weekend. So now I wanted to go over the divisional playoffs, go over the lines of these, and kind of just give my 2 cents on them. So first off, the first Saturday game is 4:30 Eastern time. Going to be the Saints against the 49ers. They're actually going to be traveling out to, right? Yeah, it's going to be in San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is. It's in San Francisco. Sorry, which I think is going to be a great game. I think this is probably going to be the best of the 4 games, personally, because you have just the old school style of smash mouth football, thanks to Mr. Harbaugh taking over in San Francisco against essentially the greatest show on turf, part 2, with that of the Saints. So I think it's going to be a great game. Right now, the line is New Orleans by 4, which I don't know about that. This is a game, I know I'm sounding like a total sissy when it comes to betting, but there is no chance in hell I'm betting this game. It terrifies me because it could very possibly be a 20-17 49ers win, or it could very possibly be a 35-21 Saints win. So there's no way I'm touching this game at all, not even thinking about it. But I am picking the 49ers to win. I'm going to pick the 49ers to win. I think it's going to be a much more grind them out, Frank Gore running down your throats type of game. Plus, I'm pretty sure Patrick Willis is going to be back for this game, and he is an absolute beast. So I think he's going to be able to corral Darren Sproles, Chris Ivory, or Pierre Thomas, whoever's running. So I am picking the 49ers to win by a score of 23-20. I think it's going to come down to a last-second field, well, not last-second field goal, but a fourth-quarter field goal. And I do believe that 49ers are going to take it. So night game for Saturday is the Broncos with the Patriots, the game that I was just speaking about, which is the rematch of, I think it was week 13? Week 12? Week 13? I don't know. But should be a pretty good game, especially if Tim Tebow plays like he did today. They could very possibly beat the Patriots, even though it's in Foxborough. They very well could. The line on it is New England by 14. And now this is a very, 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 very sneaky line. A lot like the Steelers being favored by 9. Because this could very possibly, again, be a game where New England just destroys them, drops 41 on them. Or it could be a game that is 10-7. Personally, I think New England's going to win. But I think it's going to be a much more drag them down type of game. Especially after what the Patriots did to the Broncos defense when they first played. I don't think it's going to happen again, personally. I think it's going to end up New England winning, but it's going to end up 23-17. 23-17. So closer than the 14 points. In my opinion, that's what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. I could see it even being 23-10, but I think they're going to end up getting a touchdown at the end, 23-17. But I don't think it's going to be a very tough game. I think that the Patriots will come out to an early lead and will hold it. There will be a little bit of fourth quarter comeback that will get it to be 17, but I think the Patriots will take it. So, with that being said, now we go on to Sunday's games, and game that I'm definitely excited about. Ravens getting into action against the Houston Texans. Going to be in Baltimore, and it is at 1 p.m. Eastern, so I'm going to have to wake up early to watch it. But I really think that this is going to be a good game. I think that the Ravens are going to come out pretty dominantly, and they're going to hold Arian Foster in check pretty well. I think that Yates is going to fall back to like he did in his 3-game skid, and I think Terrell Suggs is just going to make his life hell. I think Ray Lewis is going to make his life hell. I think Ed Reed gets at least 1 interception. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it seriously right now. Ed Reed gets an interception. Terrell Suggs gets 2 sacks and maybe a forced fumble. And it's not just because I love this team and I love Terrell Suggs and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. That's what I think is going to happen. I think as good of a run as they've had, I don't think Arian Foster is going to be able to run on this defense. And I think for the most part, Andre Johnson is going to be held in check. So if 2 of Yates' biggest weapons are held in check, I don't see any way that they can win, even though they have a solid defense. Even though Jonathan Joseph, I think, is gonna have a good game, holding either Anquan Bolden or whoever in check, as well as I think Brian Cushing's going to have a good game. And I think the Texan defense overall is going to have a good game, but I just don't think they're going to be able to win. The line on the game is Baltimore by 9. That's a little scary to me, but I actually think it's going to hit exactly the line. I think it's going to be 23-14. Baltimore's going to win, my opinion. So finally, we go with another game that could be really good, especially with how well the Giants played against them. It's kind of what started their whole little run here. But the Giants have another shot at the Packers in Green Bay, in the frozen tundra, I'm sure. It is the Sunday afternoon game. It's going to be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the current line on it is Green Bay by 9. This has the potential for the Giants to win based on how well they've been playing and the fact that really Green Bay's offensive line isn't what it was, when they first met. They've had a few injuries. They're a little bit banged up. And I really think that Aaron Rodgers is going to get harassed a little bit. At the end of the day, he still is Aaron Rodgers, and he still is my pick for MVP, even though I can't stand him. But I do think that he's going to have a little bit of a falling off type of game. I don't think he's going to go over 400 yards. I think he's going to end up with like 250, 260, 3 touchdowns. And I think the game is going to end up 21-14. The Packers are going to win. I think that at the end of the day, it is still is Aaron Rodgers, and it's going to be a pretty run-of-the-mill game. I think the first quarter will come out. It'll be nobody will score the first quarter. I think it'll be 7-7 in the second quarter, and then I think after halftime, the Packers are just going to take the lead and hold it, my opinion. So we'll see what happens. There are my picks for the divisional round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs, if you will. So hopefully we'll see what happens, and hopefully I'll go 4 for 4. But let me know what your guys' picks are. If you think that my picks are right on, right off, I'm always curious to find out. So definitely drop a comment on YouTube or on MatthewMailey.com, and just let me know what you guys think. So as always, Matthew Mailey from MatthewMailey.com. Want to do a quick wild card wrap-up as well as a Division Week 2 of the postseason preview for the NFL. And there you go. So as always, thank you for checking out all my videos. Much appreciated. I am Matthew Mailey for MatthewMailey.com. And while you're at it, check out MatthewMailey.com. Check out my video blog, all my videos there. Or follow me up on YouTube. Search for Matthew Mailey Poker. That has all of my videos, as well as the ability to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you can see all these videos when they first pop up. As always, you can follow your boy on Twitter. I apologize. I was hoping to be on Twitter a lot more today with the games, but ended up last minute, went out to the movies with the family and whatever. So missed out on that, but don't worry, I'll be there next Sunday. So as well, you can like my page on Facebook if you don't mind. Search for Matthew Mailey Poker again. Like it, send it to your friends, and I will be very happy. And of course you want to do that, right? Maybe. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Sorry I got a little long-winded, but it's NFL, baby. I love it. So until the next video, hope everybody had a great week, and time to crash out and get ready for the work week. So, or good weekend is what I meant to say. Tired. But anyway, until the next video, your boy signing off. Peace out, y'all.